I saw this Pdai narrative and I was like, there's no high market cap already. Like I yeeted all my PLS and PLSX right into Pdai and the Atropa Eco, and I already made my money back and more. And then I'm going to rotate it back into PLS later and get more coins because it's going down. So
people are kind of just like squandered about like what's happening with the chain and then the SEC, all that, but like what has happened over here, reality picture. Like I have 30 to 35x already my pulse and hex position, and still have like dry powder to play with from my sacrifice. Those are the numbers that people are making, and it's not just me. There is a lot of smart individuals that actually understanding what's going on, and of course the people that got in early are gonna thrive. But like at the same time, I got one of my buddies on board, told him about the whole ecosystem, told him about Teddy Bear. He got in at around $8 to $7 million market cap. He bought. He was talking to me yesterday. He was just like, "This is crazy," and he got in like a week ago. So there's some life-changing opportunities here, especially for yourself, your friends, your family. And then once you do ultimately do well for yourself, then guess what? Where it's going to most likely go back.
Yeah, everything is going to rotate back to Pulsechain. Honestly, I see just good things ahead.
Just to play off of what you were just sharing, right? I mean, I think if somebody doesn't necessarily know how to seek out opportunity, how to vet then I think it's great that they continue to DCA. And I happen to love that the level of loyalty. Like I see a positive. I know that toxic, maxism could be a problem. But I do love that level of loyalty. I just think people need to kind of understand that if you do really believe in Hex, you really do believe in Pulsechain and PLS, then you're not just, hoping that project does well. You really need to become a part of, and don't be afraid to invest in the entire ecosystem, the entire chain, because the chain's success is going to depend on the success of these projects. I mean, all of our ability to onboard people onto this chain is going to be people's ability to make money on chain. And if you think people are just going to make money with the L1 alone and not building anything else on chain, I mean, the blockchain succeeds because there are layers of projects and platforms built on top of it, right? So yeah, I think we need to do a better job as a community of championing other projects, just bringing attention to opportunities to multiply your bag, and maybe just step out of your comfort zone a little bit and open up, to learning from people who figured out how to put themselves in a better position to win.
Yeah, 100%.
The gentleman that just spoke just right before me now, he's got a very, very good point, because for a year and a half, I sacrificed for Pulsex. So for a year and a half, without even realizing it, I grew. Basically, I went into tunnel vision, and all I could see was Pulse and Pulsex, and waiting for it to actually come alive and start going up. And and because of that, just having that, I don't want to call it laser focus, but that tunnel vision, I didn't see. I mean, I heard about the Atropa ecosystem about 3 weeks ago. It's hard to believe, but I actually bought some Atropa, and then I sold it again. And man, I've been kicking myself ever since, and especially with the massive run that we had yesterday and the day before. So yeah, it's very easy to once you commit to something like this, that you get tunnel vision. And something funny that happened this morning, and it literally made my day. About 5 to I'm in the African time zone, so around about 5 a.m. this morning, I was just playing around and looking at the charts, and I saw this TSFI, yeah, and I looked at the indicator that I normally use on the 2 time frames, and I saw it coming down, and then I did a quick Fibonacci just overlay there, and at that very moment it dropped right to the 0.618 line, and I thought, okay, well, I'll buy a little bit. I kid you not, guys, by the time I went through the process, but I was on my phone, it wasn't on my laptop or anything, I was on my phone, and by the time that I had bought and gotten back onto the graph or the chart, some whale bought one big stack of it, and the price just shot up by like 83%, like seconds after I bought. And so yeah, that made my day. It's nice to see that some projects are doing very, very well, and also to know that those projects that are doing well, they're burning those pulse at a rate like second to none. So It's good for everybody.
And so people are like, if their end goal is to really rotate a lot of this gains back into PLS specifically, a very interesting idea I heard Sonny's TG the other day was you could just make a fat LP pool between wrapped Pulse and wrapped ETH, like the PRC ETH, wrapped ETH on our side, the ones that are pegged to 1-to-1 ratio. You could literally just create a huge LP pool between those two because there is no impermanent loss risk because they're always going to be 1-to-1. So literally you're just getting fees on that pool and with no risk of downside. So it's like sticking your money in a bank and just accumulating, a little PLS at a time, especially at these low prices. Like if you do that for a while, it could end up turning into some money down the road when PLS could, hit some major X's, hopefully.
Are you talking about, let's say, wrap Pulse to wrap ETH on Pulsechain, right?
Yeah, it's the one, the wrapped ETH, that's the PRC 21. You'll see the ratio. It should be 1-to-1. So whatever the price of Pulses is what the price of that wrapped ETH should be. Because I think there is a wrapped ETH bridge from Ethereum. So there are two of them. You just have to look for the one that has the correct ratio.
Yeah, guys, there are plenty of opportunities on Pulsechain, and it's extremely early, almost for 4 months. And this has actually skyrocketed within a month, basically. Like I say, better times to come because there are a lot more things that could go on with Pulsechain. And this is just a very tip of the iceberg right here, definitely. Like I say, when Pdai does get to 1 cent, like I said, other chains, they're going to be building bridges to Pulsechain, straight up. I even forgot that Maddox even on the damn Pulsechain. And who knows if someone might come up with something to pick that up, so to bridge the Polygon.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's so many possibilities on Pulsechain.
I think, what is it, Vamp? They just came over into their copy and just provided liquidity. I mean, if we keep getting projects from ETH to do that, it's.
You see, that's the attention that Pulsechain is gathering slowly but surely. They're gonna be projects coming in. I mean, that's why he forked the whole entire chain, for everyone else to get an opportunity that they're not getting on ETH.
It's a whole new world.
Yeah, it is. And Atropa has actually highlighted that possibility that, you can actually do this on this chain.
And then any individual can just come over here, tie something to Atropa, tie yourself to Pulse, tie yourself to the Pulsex, Hex, everything. Boom. Once one goes down, it's just a domino effect. Unless they're hesitant about the whole SEC bullshit, which if I was
doesn't affect anything.
Well, yeah, basically.
About 3 weeks, I've been in and out of understanding what's happening here, and I've got this actually legal pad that I've been writing on to take notes this whole time. So I'm curious. One of the questions I had, maybe you can provide some clarity, is so I'm looking at these pairs right now. What bridged in pairs have Atropa included? So I see that we have $229,000 of liquidity, and that's split between Atropa and PLS. Are there any other pairs out there of significance that are paired with something that's been bridged in with ETH, or through the ETH bridge, rather?
I mean, the only thing that, if you look at what comes in through the bridge, right, from Ethereum's. All right, so if you understand a little bit about how Pdai controls the price of Atropa right now, right? When we bridged in different assets with different values, right? So let's say we brought in nothing but Ethereum and then paired this to Ethereum, we'd just be Ethereum. We can't change our price, right? We'd just be tied to the price of Ethereum. So if we came in with 100% stables, then we are our own thing, right? We're backed by a stable. We're not supported by anybody else. This is our price. So the only thing I'd say about what comes in through the bridge is that is our liquidity. Just like Atropa, we're looking at what is its liquidity made of? Where can we exit? Where can we actually get real value, right? And before those things got bridged in, none of us could exit. There wasn't any value, but we gave it value, right? We're giving Atropa value now. And then what we tie it to the most is it's what controls us, right? So let's say, and I'm making this up, I'm not looking, but let's say right now we're 50% stables and 50% ETH, right? So we're in the middle of this battle for freedom, right? Like we want to get 51% stables so that ETH isn't controlling us anymore, right? Like it's still going to have an effect on us, but like we can slowly break away. So like when people bridge out, it's awesome if they take ETH with them and leave the stables here. Bring the stables in, take the ETH out, take the wrap or take the real Bitcoin out. Like fuck that shit. We want to be backed by real stables, and then we can go on our own price discovery.
Got it. So I had this. I wrote this question down earlier when I was listening to you guys. So if they can, or this 414 guy can create contracts and can pair it with Atropa, and he can move liquidity around this and that, is there going to be there's going to be a certain point in time when there is no more, I guess, for lack of a better term, bridged in liquidity, if they keep creating all of these contracts, because it's going to suck it up and it's going to put it in those pools. It's going to stack PLS. It's going to stack WETH and all that, because Pulsex is routed. So if somebody's trying to get out of there, for example, like Atropa position, it's going to find liquidity to be able to do that, or people will, because they want to cross back over the bridge. So am I correct in thinking that all of the bridged in liquidity is being harvested right now?
No, the Pulse is being harvested and put into the forever floor across every coin that it's attached to.
So explain to me that concept, the forever floor.
It's being put into burnt liquidity, so no one can ever access it.
Well, that was my point. Like, if it's harvesting that liquidity and it can't be used by anybody to exit, I think I heard one of the theories was maybe there was going to be a point in time when the Dai on the Ethereum side was all going to be bridged over to create that exit liquidity. But it seems like there's like a mismatch. Not saying it's good or bad. It's something that's going to happen probably well into the future. But all that real world LP is being harvested right now, it seems, or I guess assets from the Ethereum side that have passed over the bridge.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what Atropa is doing to Pdai, it's just a microcosm of what Pulse is doing to ETH, or what wrap BTC is to the dollar, or the dollar to the world, right? It's just it's liquidity bonding and pairing and safety nets compared with each other, and whichever one has more percentage and leverage and power can move the other one. Like,
so another question here is, so how does with the shit coins that are being created by the 414, how does Atropa interact with those shit coins, either directly or by proxy somehow?
You mean like the cause and stuff?
Well, in terms of, like, Atropa, I guess it buys and burns and then burns the LPs essentially. Does it do that for these shit coins as well?
No. So it holds a lot of the LPs. Actually, the contracts hold a lot of the LPs, right? So if you give the LP to a contract, right, that's a token. You're giving that token, like it's really like man, it gets really deep when you understand it. And honestly, I'd love to find more people that I could just brainstorm with rather than explain, right? Because I wound that shit Friday, and all I've been doing is explaining it. I haven't made a trade. I love creating this community, right? But it's at that point where it's a burden. I want to discover more because there's so much more here.
Yeah, I get you. There's a lot of questions, man. It's very interesting to say the least. So let me, go ahead.
Brandon, can I ask you a question? When you talk about shitcoins, which ones are you talking about?
I was just using the terminology that you guys were using. I was assuming you're referring to like the teddy bear and the other non-Atropa Pdai, ones that have been created, like the 30 or something.
So don't get mad at Rags. He's a really good fella. You guys know Rags a good dude. I like.
Oh no, I'm not coming at anybody weird at all.
No.
I was just, they were saying earlier, so I was just saying shit coins. That's all.
Okay.
Wrap BTC is a shit coin. It's a mirrored copy that
right copy. Yeah.
But before we gave it value, I don't know anyone else that, when mainnet went live, we went 4 or 5 days without price discovery, and then we bridged in and we had price discovery. Wrap BTC had like $25,000 in liquidity when the prices came up. Like, those motherfuckers had already put 25K in lick in Wrap BTC, and that was it. That was the biggest, fattest, thickest liquidity in anything mirrored. And then we all started doing whatever. So day one, they came in and they made sure they had full control over that. And probably very well knowing, like, in the real world, that ratio of Bitcoin is that's where all of our crypto value is. And its value it's backed by USD, right? And the flippening on that edge would be, once we get enough, when we get more physical of our dollars in the real world put into Bitcoin, then Bitcoin has power over the dollar. Otherwise, right now, when you look at the Bitcoin chart, it's just the S&P and the stock and the dollar. Like, it's all the same chart because it's all pulled together. One day, there'll be more money in Bitcoin maybe than the real world, and then Bitcoin will be fucking standard. Like,
I want to go back to, and pardon me, man. I want to go back to something you said. You were talking about the LP tokens when I was talking about like the shit coins, LP tokens being held in the contract address. Can you clarify what you meant by that?
So when you make an LP, you get a token, and
but which contract address?
Different contracts hold different LPs, and then if you start to look at all of the tokens and their top holders, a lot of the tokens are starting to be the top holder of other tokens, right? So just like Atropa is the top hold, like the Atropa contract, like Atropa and its liquidity, it is the top holder of DAI.
So somebody comes in, they create a shit coin, and they already have existing, something, Atropa, for example, or whatever, and they've got, 1 million of this other new thing that they created. They paired together to get the LP tokens. But the LP token, what I'm trying to get at here is are the LP tokens, are those being burnt as well, or are they being held kind of quote unquote liquid in the contract?
It doesn't matter because there's enough tokens to rug the whole thing. However, a lot of it's burnt. So he can burn the majority supply of it because that's where he wants to create this burnt wrapped pulse floor. So that stuff can be burnt. And then there's a lot of it that's not burnt and it's not locked. It's just sitting on these contracts or in his wallet, because when he goes to play the leverage game back and forth and create a little, motion in the ocean to get all these arbitrage bots going and fill up all these pools, he's got to either pull an LP to make a new route and pump one coin and then pull another LP or add an LP. There's a lot of inner working mazes underneath. Like when you see a new coin launch, like the first thing everyone here says is like, oh, it's like 50% price impact. And it's like, no, it's not. I just shoved $1,000 through it. It was 0.01%, right? It's like, but there's multiple paths you can go through, and he controls how much money and can change one other thing. So if you want to get into the LP game, you have to stop looking at dollar sign. It's not a dollar.
I don't care if it's dollars. I don't care what asset is.
Okay, so
where's the game there?
You provide liquidity, right?
Yep.
You make a pool and I trade $100 through that pool. I'm leaving 2 cents in the pool because you helped me make a trade. You provided the liquidity for me to trade.
Yeah, I understand how that works. Yeah.
2 cents. Okay, I thought that was the question. So if you understand, then we're good.
I want Brandon to get this, dude, because I think it's
there we go.
I think it's important that he does get this, and I know that you're just kind of like starting off and trying to understand it, but I think it really breaks down to kind of what I said a second ago. This dude has basically created all these fake coins, right? That like he created a token, right? That was $1 million, right? But there was like $4,000 in liquidity, right? But it shows there's $1 million on that chart. Now, basically, he can take some of these LPs, right, Sonny? And he can remove the LP from one side, shove it into another one, right? And what does that do? That just kicked off all the ratios now. It pumped the shit out of one, right? And it jumped the price on another. But then what happens? Those R bots come in, right? And they have to even out all the pools on both of the ones he bought and on the ones he sold. And that ripple effect goes all the way throughout. It goes all the way throughout all of Pulse, right? All the players, right, Sonny? Am I saying that right?
This LP pairing, this little network, this little setup is no different than when the lights turned on for Pulse and we just started giving liquidity and value to things.
But basically, over time, he's turning this fake money into real money is really what it boils down to.
How?
By
injecting value through liquidity, like people pairing. Basically, they're bringing think of the Pulse as the real money, right? All this other shit can be fake to you. But if the Pulse is real money, right, and now people are pairing it with the Pulse, then there's value, and it pumps value in through Pulse and through other coins that actually have value on Pulsechain.
That arbitrage, right?
Well, the thing that I came in here originally, and I was like, okay, if you've got 1 unit of value passing through the bridge from Ethereum, and then you've got 2 units of value that are being stowed away, or maybe I don't know, less. I guess it depends on the frequency, but eventually you're going to have a point in time where I guess that floor of burnt Pulse that you're talking about, or I guess all of these shit coins that people are putting real money into, doesn't that extract all of the value that has passed over the bridge at some point unless new value is put across the bridge? or am I wrong in
Hold on.
thinking that?
So there's two different layers of things, right? So like the money that came over the bridge is attached to Pulse. The money that we shitcoin with is attached to Wrapped Pulse.
Well, it's
all of
it's
the
accounted for in the bridge via Ethereum, right?
right, but it's attached to Pulse. And we are playing in Wrapped Pulse. Nothing that we do in Wrapped Pulse over on this side can really change the value. The liquidity will never change, right? Because we're not actually playing with any real coins. We're playing with this little made-up ecosystem. It's the Wrapped world is not the Pulse world. What we do in the Wrapped side, in the little shitcoin contracts, does not change the price of Pulse.
Well, why do we have a bridge then?
Because you have to, the way that this was worked, right? We wouldn't need a bridge if we had a pre-sale because we'd have liquidity here, but we had to make our own liquidity, right? Like
so let's take a non-pulse thing. Let's just take any, because I think that the other assets are being affected by this as well, because Pulsex routes between V1 and V2. So if you take an asset and you wrap it and it gets distributed and issued on the Pulse chain side, then wouldn't that be subject to being swapped out or held, or eventually, like you said, the Pulse floor that you were talking about? Wouldn't that be sucked up essentially?
So like there's people doing arbitrage on the stable pools every time there's a price disparity there, and they profit off of that. And if they take it off chain, then then they come over here, they arbitrage, and they leave. It'd be the same as a front run bot. It'd be the same as a rugger. It'd be the same as a trader. You come over, you make your move, you make your money, and you get out.
So if you have Ethereum and based on the price of a Pulse, and you take that Ethereum and you pass it across, well, I guess you can buy WETH, or not WETH, you can buy Wrapped Pulse on Ethereum, pass it across a bridge, it becomes Pulse, but it's accounted for, right?
Well, right. It's backed by the liquidity on the other side, right? So whatever liquidity anywhere it may be that's directly in a pool linked to Pulse, that's Pulse's liquidity.